It's Mario Lloyd, also known as Real Estate Guru PK, with the Realist Podcast. On the Realist Podcast, we talk about how to make a dollar, how to keep a dollar, and we touch on hot topics. We're launching my Patreon with my whole real estate portfolio, and you're also going to get the podcast before it goes out on all the platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Real Estate Guru PK. You can find me on YouTube at Real Estate Guru PK, and you can find my podcast on Instagram, the Realist Podcast. How y'all doing, man? We got the king, Khary Payton. How you doing, sir?
Good, good. It's Khary.
Khary?
You don't have to pronounce the H,
Okay.
but it's just like nice and smooth.
Khary
Yeah,
Payton.
Khary.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The H
How-
is silent.
The H is silent. Yeah, the H is silent, but it's there. You know what? It's like you have to think it, but not say it. You know, because there's a ha in there, but you don't say the ha. Yeah, yeah. Which is crazy because actually, who's running the board and the cameras for us is a young man named Khary, and I don't meet many other Kharis. You know, I think I can maybe count them on one hand. You know, the Kharis that I know. So it's yeah, this is a unique experience for me.
You were meant to be here today.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
sign.
Well, y'all got me all throned up. You know, I look like I'm leaning like you know. I got my constituents right here.
That's
You
cool.
know,
That's cool.
That's how we're doing it.
How was your flight, sir?
It was good. It was good. Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm getting older. You see all this gray in my beard. So I was working out the other day, and I was just picking up dumbbells, and I pulled something in my back. I was like, I'm pulling something, just picking up dumbbells. I was like, I can't do this. I got too much work to do. You know, so I've been sore for like a couple of days. I was worried that being on the flight, I'd you know, be uncomfortable, but they gave me a nice wide seat, so I feel good about it.
That's
Yeah.
good.
You hear that, y'all? I don't know if you can hear that thunder. That's Houston talking. You know, yeah. It reminds me of when I went to school at SMU in Dallas, Texas. The way you know, everything's so flat, so the weather just rolls in and rolls out so quickly. You know, because we don't we get showers in LA, but it's just for a short period of time. You know, yeah.
No thunder.
No thunder, no thunder. You know, definitely no thunder.
Okay, so I kind of want to get straight into The Walking Dead. I got a lot of questions.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so did they pitch you that you were gonna get with Carol, or was that already understood? Or
Man, let me tell you something. They don't pitch me anything when it comes to The Walking Dead. There's already like this incredible source material in the comic book, right?
Mhm.
And that comic book is so full of so many amazing characters.
Mhm.
You know, you can make suggestions, but for the most part, you know, there's like, I don't know, there were like 20 you know, series regulars at one point, and you can't ask everybody's opinion, you know, about how it goes. So no, they weren't asking that. That's like asking us, you know, when do you want to die? No, you know, you know, on The Walking Dead, you know, that it's just not up to you. You know, it's like if they talk about it and they're like all of these characters are weaving their stories together, and this is the character that's supposed to die, then you gonna get the call. You know, yeah. So we don't have a lot of control as far as like big things like that. It's smaller things, you know, like within scenes. You know, you can talk about, but something like whether Carol and Ezekiel were gonna get together. No, it was like so you and Carol are getting together, and it seemed like it was going that way from the beginning. You know, so you just kind of lean into it.
So in the show, I saw all the seasons, and in the show, they keep on saying the kingdom, and they keep on having you like on the throne, like that was like your like sanctuary.
Sure.
And then as soon as you're there, then it's like you and Carol started forming a bond.
Mhm.
And then, you know, y'all got married, right? Y'all got married?
We got married.
Y'all got married. Then y'all have a son.
We did. We didn't have a son. We you know, kind of adopted, you know, a kid. You know, I don't know if Carol was she was done having kids, but she and shoot, it was bad enough with the you know, when she adopts kids. Any kid, you know, Carol comes around, you know, it's usually not good for the kid.
Yeah.
You know, death and destruction, you know, for the children. But it's but she does save a lot of people.
She does.
You know, which I think is better than Rick. Rick comes into a town and everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
Everybody's gone, you know? I should have been shaking my head as soon as they walked in, as soon as Rick walked in. I think it would have been funny. I've been like, oh Lord, this dude.
Here he comes.
You know, because yeah, exactly. But the kingdom held up pretty good.
It did.
I'm still mad that they let us that they made us leave, you know. Now that I had big feelings about, because eventually, you know, we left the kingdom and you know, you know, went to Commonwealth and all of that, and but the kingdom, the walls never crumbled. There were no walkers that like filled the kingdom, you know, and we had to leave. I'm still mad about that. As far as I'm concerned, Ezekiel is still the best leader out of anybody.
Absolutely.
Except that they yeah, for some reason they made him leave before he needed to.
If the kingdom doesn't fall, do you think you get to spin off with Carol or
Man, you know what? That I have no idea. I would love to do a spinoff of Ezekiel, but that's one of those things that's not up to me as well. You know, I love the character, and I think that he's actually got a lot of things to explore as a person, and I would love to do a show about how he became a
origin story.
Yeah, an origin story. I think that would be kind of a Better Call Saul, you know, situation with Breaking Bad. But that's not up to me. If they called, you know, I would be all for it. But it's, you know, it's I don't know if it's in the cards. I feel like it's time for me to, you know, move on to other things. But I adore Ezekiel as a character, as a person, as a connector with people, you know. And yeah, if the opportunity, you know, arose, I would absolutely take it.
When you have a child that dies on the show, are those real emotions that you feel? Like, do you put your own children in that place, or do you?
You know what? I don't put my own children in that space. But I do feel real emotions. I guess there's a more method way of acting where you take your personal, you know, experiences and relationships and kind of superimpose them on the work that you're doing. You know, I rarely do that. You know, it's I feel like I've got a big enough imagination that I can get there without doing that, you know, and so you know, but that's just my way of working, you know. I also you know, think just for your own mental health, you know, maybe you don't need to go all the way there. You know, sometimes it's hard enough to wash away the emotions that you're dealing with at the end of the day, you know, but to live in a space where you're, you know, pretending that your actual loved ones are dying, you know, that's that'd be harder to like take off and go home and live the rest of your life, you know. So I try to have a balance mentally, you know, as far as that's concerned.
I have a question about Carol.
Yeah.
What did your relationship with her teach you about vulnerability?
You know what? I love Ezekiel and Carol's relationship, and I love the way that Ezekiel dealt with Carol, because I had to really think differently, because in a relationship, Carol's not a person to easily have a relationship with. She's somebody who comes in and she hangs out for a while, but she is not gonna stay. She feels if she starts to feel bottled in, she's gonna run away. And Ezekiel, I had to find ways that you would love being in a relationship with someone who is not particular about being in a relationship, you know, and like Carol is a badass, and Carol is a like a force of nature. But she also, you know, kind of when the going get tough, she's like, man, I'm out of here. I don't need to, you know, I don't need to deal with the mental weight of it. And there was a moment where they're riding horses together, and he pulls out a little ring to propose to Carol, and she's like get that out of here, put that away. And I was like, man, how do you deal with that rejection? And I loved that Ezekiel enjoyed being rejected by Carol when he proposed, because that was her. That's why he loved her. That she wasn't gonna do it the way everybody else did it. You know, that she was gonna play hard to get. You know, that she was not gonna make this easy. And he loves the strategy and the chase and the not chase. You know, from the beginning of their relationship, he was like, why don't you go and not go? You know, I'm not going to hold you down and say that you got to stay here. If you feel like you need to go spread your wings, go do that. You know, just know that I'm here whenever you come back. And yeah, I love that about Ezekiel, because in a way it means that there's somebody for everybody. You know, it's like Carol had been through so much. It's hard for her to be vulnerable. But Ezekiel knows that and gives her the room, you know, to be her, and then to, you know, be that bird that flies away from the perch, but comes back because they know they have a safe place there.
Oh, that was cute. I loved how you put that. Have you ever experienced that relationship dynamic in real life?
Oh man, I don't know. Not I guess not to that extent. I feel like you know, the people that you know, that I have relationships with. Now, there are definitely people that I don't see very often or get to hang out with, but when we come back together, it's like we were never apart, you know? And in that sense, I feel like I have that kind of relationship. I don't necessarily have the kind of relationship where Carol's, you know, like I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm leaving for a while, you know, and then I come back. It's you know, we usually don't leave on those terms, you know, but yeah, but you know, especially, you know, as you get older, you don't see your friends as often. You know, I have really great friends that don't even live in this country, you know, and so I don't see them as often as I would like, but I find that the connections that I have with people are really stellar, and when we come back together, it's like no time has passed, you know, and I love that. I love that dynamic.
Yeah. Why you think when you got cancer, why you think he doesn't tell Carol? Or why you think you didn't tell nobody? He didn't tell nobody at all, right? He just kept it to himself.
Yeah, well, I think that is one of the burdens of leadership, and that sometimes you feel like people are on a need to know basis, you know, and you know, and at that time, Ezekiel didn't think there was anything that could be done about his cancer, so and and uh and his role in his mind was to keep people's spirit up, to keep people positive, to keep people feeling good about it. And one of the problems with that is maybe you don't talk about your own trauma, you know, when maybe you should. And so I think that's maybe why he held it in, you know. Sometimes I feel like I do that. You know, I don't I don't talk about my own bad news, you know, because I'm like, y'all don't need to hear about my bad news. I'm trying to, you know, I want to make a connection with, and you walk away feeling positive. But you know, you learn that people want to be needed and want to help you through something, you know. But I think that Ezekiel was struggling with that at the time. Yeah.
Mm.
If he tells Khary, you think she comes to be with him like till his last days, or you think she's still on that nomad quest she was on?
Man, I don't know. You know, the thing about Carol is that she's capricious in that way. And I wouldn't think that to know what her you know, how she might react. Um, you know, my thought is that she might go away for a little while, but she will always come back. You know, there's a magnetic pull that brings her back to the people she cares about.
When her and Daryl get together, do you think Ezekiel felt some type of way about it, or?
I mean, clearly he did. You know, even before they got together, he was, you know, he was feeling some kind of way about it. So, you know, but yeah, what are you gonna do? What you gonna do?
I think the audience wanted her and Daryl to get together, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think at the end of
I don't know why though.
Huh?
I feel like y'all dynamic was awesome.
I mean, they've got a whole, you know, story and history before you know.
But y'all had a kid. Y'all had a kid together though. That's more important. Like,
you keep saying we had a kid together, like she gave birth to this child. This was a boy who was hanging out around us and wouldn't go away. And so now he started calling him his son. What happens in the apocalypse if the boy's parents die and he started hanging around you long enough, and they start calling you mom and dad. But yeah, she I think maybe she's was obviously attached to this boy, but she's also, you know, lost her own kids, you know, that she literally gave birth to. So yeah, I don't know if it's quite the same, you know, as all of that. Yeah.
Oh, so who would you say Ezekiel is when no one is around?
I think that he's that guy in that first episode that he came in who took a moment to relax in his chair, slump in his chair, and just be relaxed and talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, when he was like, man, people needed me. So, you know, you do what people need for you to do, and you do what you're good at. Mm-hmm. And I was good at, you know, and I was good at putting on this persona, and he clearly enjoys it, you know. But when no one else is around, I think he relaxes, you know. Mm-hmm. He sits back in his chair, his voice relaxes, and yeah, and he takes a deep breath. But I also think that he enjoys the King Ezekiel persona. I think he enjoys you know, being something that people need, you know. I feel like we both you know, it's the reason that I like being Ezekiel. You know, I like, you know, playing that character. You know, I like, you know, being Cyborg from Teen Titans because it's giving people, you know, something that they need to connect to, you know. But you know, but at the end of the day, you know, when I you know, curl up on the sofa, you know, with my wife and kids, you know, it's you know, he's probably a little quieter and a little calmer, mm-hmm. you know, and just a little more at ease.
But before you took the role, did you have like an inclination how big of a impact it was going to have on your life?
I knew it was a big part. Yeah. I mean, The Walking Dead was one of the biggest shows. It was one of the biggest shows ever, mm-hmm. you know, and at the time was, you know, just you know, everybody was watching. And so I knew it was a big deal. But honestly, I had auditioned for things before that were a big deal, you know, but it's all about how you connect to the material. And I really connected to Ezekiel, and and uh yeah, and I was like, if they can make this whole, dreadlocks and look, make it work, I knew that I was gonna be close to making it happen. But that's the thing about, TV and film is like, you can connect to a character, you can have a really amazing moment, figuring things out and connect emotionally and personally. But if you don't look right, you don't look right, you know?
Mhm.
I had a really great experience auditioning for the remake of Roots, and it was down to me and just a couple of other people, and that process was really gratifying for me. And I remember thinking that even if I don't get this part, I would hope that that this has been, a really cathartic process, just the audition process. And I didn't get it, but I connected to, uh, Chicken George and that character every bit as much as I did with Ezekiel, but that part wasn't made for me at the time. And Ezekiel was, so you got to take them as they come. Yeah.
Is there any other roles you tried out for that you didn't get?
Man, what do you mean, from The Walking Dead?
No, like just in general.
Dude, there's so many. I mean, I've been told no so many times. It's like it would make your mind spin how many auditions I've walked out of and never heard a thing, and not me walking out being like, ah, man, I don't think I did that right. Or did. There's some things that I walked out of there being like, shh, man, I killed that. I'm feeling good. I'm sitting back waiting for the phone call. Phone call never comes, And it's like, you gotta know that that your time is coming. There was a time where I was really struggling with finding, the next gig or whatever. And my mom was like, maybe you should just come back to Georgia, and it seems hard. And I was like, no, Mom, this is the job. This is the job. I always say I'm in the hope business. If I'm people turn on their television, they go into a dark theater, they watch what you do in theater, and they're looking for connection, they're looking for inspiration, they're looking for hope. It was like the first job. My first job is to be hopeful in my own life. And if I'm doing that, then I know that I can impart this, when I step out on stage or when I step in front of the camera. So and I've always felt that, and I've always known that I was meant to make a connection with people, doing this thing. And so even during the lean times, that kept me strong, because sometimes I've done theater where there's been 3 people in the audience, but I was like, I'm not gonna let these 3 people walk out of here thinking I'm mediocre. So I give them everything I got, and you do that, even in those small places. And then when you are blessed with a big audience, to be able to connect with a lot of people, it's gonna happen, or at least I felt that it was gonna happen. And I believe in the power of your own want, and positivity. So yeah.
You believe in speaking things into existence?
Absolutely,
I do too.
Absolutely, I do. And and it works for good people and bad people.
It does.
Sometimes it works better for bad people.
It does.
They don't care,
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's a struggle, but I absolutely believe that. I've lived my life by that, and I feel like the that attractive nature, makes it happen, because there are people who on the outside seem wildly successful, but they don't talk to themselves that way, and are living you know, a life of poverty as far as their soul is concerned. You know, and so you know, even if you're, you know, even if you know, by other people's estimation, you're living this great life, but but your thoughts aren't attracting it, then you don't feel it, you know. There are many ways to call a rich person rich, you know. And I think that you know, money doesn't buy everything. Money buys a lot, but it doesn't buy everything. And your mindset, you know, has a lot to do with that.
Would you want your kids to be actors as well, or does that
No,
at all? Like none of them?
actually, that, you know what, I want them to do what they are passionate about. I say that I don't want them to be an actor because I'm an actor, because I know how hard it is. I know the lean times. I know people who say they want to be actors, but I don't know if it's truly the passionate thing that's going to keep them happy in the lean times. But I will say this: my son, I didn't want him to be in this business, and he started drawing and editing and writing and directing, and that kid gets up early in the morning, writes, directs. He shot 3 short films this year. He, you know, and once I saw that passion, then I was like, well, I'm on board, because it's the passion that I worry about, you know. And as long as you've got that, then if all my kids end up wanting to, you know, be in this business, and I can see that they're passionate about it in the lean times, then I'm on board. But my first thing is like, be an engineer, be a doctor, be a lawyer, you know. Yeah.
How did you find your love for acting, and how did you figure that that's what you wanted to do?
When I was in the first grade, I saw a community theater production of Cyrano de Bergerac when I was in the first grade, and I remember sitting there watching, and the thing about Cyrano, he is like this swashbuckling sword, you know, he's like the best swordsman, you know. When somebody tries to insult him, he can like talk trash, like just talk circles around jokers, you know. So you couldn't beat him physically, you couldn't beat him mentally. He was just the baddest thing ever. And I sat there as, I don't know, what 6 years old, something like that, watching this dude, you know, like swing from chandeliers, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was like, I want to be this guy, you know. And that's when it started for me. And then I, you know, and my favorite like cartoon movie growing up was the old Robin Hood, from Disney Robin Hood, where he's the fox, you know.
Oh yeah, I love that cartoon.
Yeah. And I would do those voices, you know. I would do you know, the, you know, Prince John, and you know, and Robin Hood, you know, that sort of, you know, relaxed sort of British, you know, that you, little John. I would think to myself, that was one of my first impressions I would do, you know. Oh, Maid Marian will be there. You know, I'd start kind of speaking that, and that's where the beginnings of my you know, love for acting. Yeah.
That was really good, man. That was my favorite cartoon growing up.
Oh my God, I loved it.
I would be too young to know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
No, you definitely are. But go back and check it out. It's got it's not a musical, but it's got great songs, and it's that old school animation. You know, yeah, it's beautiful.
And Little John's a bear, and
Little John's a bear. Robin Hood is a fox, and there's this kind of country folk singer who narrates and sings all through it, and he's got just great songs.
What is it called?
It's called Robin
Robin
Hood.
Hood.
Oh,
Disney's Robin Hood. Yeah,
Disney's
yeah,
Robin. Okay.
yeah.
I used to watch that, Home Alone, and Hook.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, those are the yeah. That's
Wow.
the stuff. That's the stuff. But yeah. There's a great song that somebody did a cover of a while ago, and I started singing like and it goes like every town has its ups and downs. Sometimes ups outnumber the downs, but not in Nottingham. And it's like a little. It's just like great. It's
Yeah.
got great vibe.
That's
It's got
a
great
dope
vibe.
cartoon.
Yeah, that's a good one. Check it out. Check
I'll
it out.
check
You'll
it
like
out.
that one.
Check it out.
How did Teen Titans come about? Being Cyborg.
Oh man, I got lucky. I had been asking, people for years how you get into voiceover. I had done one video game in Dallas, Texas, way back, and I hadn't really done anything else. And I got lucky because one of my best friends from college was started. He wanted to be a writer, and he was assisting the assistant to this writer on cartoons. He did stuff like Jackie Chan Adventures and and stuff like that. And he became like the main writer. He was the main writer on Teen Titans. And he's like, Khary, I think you're perfect for this cyborg part. But it's not up to me, but I can at least see if they'll let you audition. And I was like, okay, great. And I remember looking up the character and being like, oh, this is Cyborg from Teen Titans, like from the comic books that that when I was growing up. And but it was a very different style and all of that. But I honestly I feel like David almost wrote this for me, because it was just me being excited. I mean, it was about as me as you could possibly be, and I went in there and I read that script. First of all, I walked into Warner Brothers Animation, and every black dude from every black TV show of the 90s, like In Living Color, In Living Single, Urkel, Family Matters. It was like all of those guys were sitting in that lobby, and I was like, well, I'm in the right place. I'm probably not gonna get this job, but I went in and because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this job or not. It kind of took all the pressure off, And I was just gonna have fun. I just wanted them to call me back again for for maybe another job. I didn't think I was gonna get this one. Who gets the first job you audition for? And this was my first voiceover audition in LA. And so I didn't think anything was come to it. I just went in there and just had a ball. Just I was screaming my head off and just just kind of letting it all hang out. Walked out of there. I looked back at all of those guys in the lobby and I was like, well, good luck. Hope they let me come back.
Yeah.
And a couple months later, now Sam Register, who's president of animation at Warner Brothers, but he was vice president of animation then, and it was up to him. And he said he had they gave him 3 different tapes back in the day, right? Of 3 different voices. And I was one of those 3 voices. And he was like, don't put a label on them. I don't want to know who they are. I just want to listen to them. And Sam is the one who made the final decision. And that's how I got the job. Yeah.
You think, like, the DC movies coming out, you think you could be like the Cyborg's dad or something like that, or? I
hope so.
I think
that's honestly my hope. If Cyborg ever ends up being back in the DC universe, in the movies and things, I would love to play Silas. I actually, there was a time that that I would hope I would be a Cyborg, but that's long past time. But I really feel this kinship with Silas now, Silas Stone, who is Victor Stone, Cyborg's father, and understanding, wanting the best for your child and them not understanding how to communicate it, you know? And it's beautiful because there's so much love there, and it's gut wrenching because you just don't know how to connect. And yeah, and I find their relationship fascinating, and I would love to be a part of it. If yes, Mr. Gunn, in case you're watching, I would love to play Silas Stone. Yes.
He's the reason why he became Cyborg, right? Because he was doing that experiment.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of different, kind of slightly different origins of, but yes, he was coming to the lab where his father worked, and I think it was a boom tube or something that said they were experimenting with the technology, and something exploded, and he got hurt, and Silas used the technology that he was working on to save his son's life, and I love that origin story. But if I were to, I actually would love to tell the story of Cyborg, because I think that it needs to be more of a thing where he's literally a monster that's trapped at first in this technology. He to me, Cyborg came out cool immediately, and you could be, angry about it, but also, man, look at you. You're a flying, living computer. I think to me, you'd get over that more quickly. But if you were fused with this alien tech machine thing that felt monstrous at first, and then you had to learn to meld with it in a way that turned you into the superhero. I think that's a really interesting thing to explore, and I'd love to explore that aspect. Yeah.
Do you enjoy voice acting more or acting?
I don't think of them differently. People ask me this all the time. I don't think of voice acting and acting on camera or acting on stage differently. You do have to use different muscles, but you're just accessing your imagination in different ways, and so I love that voiceover gives you the wherewithal to play things that don't look like you. I played monsters. I played all kinds of characters that don't look like my physical body, and you don't have to have that constraint on you, just like in theater. There's so many in theater, so you have to look somewhat like the character that you're portraying on stage, but also because you're standing in front of an audience, you have a contract with the audience, and if you tell them that you walk out on stage and you say, "I am a flower," or you say, "I am a tiger," then the audience is like, "All right, show us." That they'll be like, "This is theater. You can be what you want to be. If you tell us that, show it to us, and let's go on this journey, and on camera, you have to somewhat look like, what it is that you're portraying. And so, but even then, you've got cameras, you got microphones, there's a dude with a microphone standing above you, there are people all around. You still have to use your imagination, and so I love that I've been given the opportunity to play all of these different areas of acting, so I get to use all of those different muscles. I like the variety. I like always being able to use a different muscle. Maybe that, growing up I played a lot of different sports, and so and I have my favorites, but I like being able to do a lot of different things, and I think with acting in voiceover and theater and on camera, I get to work all those different muscles.
So as a non-actor, what do you mean by using your muscles or different muscles? What do you mean by that?
I guess well, literally, you're when I'm just standing in front of a microphone and a music stand and reading, I am inflecting more in my in my throat, and I'm thinking about it differently in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I'm on camera, I'm very you want to make sure you're stepping in the right spot, you're hitting your mark, all of these things are happening, and then you want to throw all of that out so that you can be in the moment, physically and mentally in the moment, that there's and then I'm doing a video game right now. It's and so it's performance capture, and in those in those scenes, I have on this suit, that's got markers on it, and there are like 1,000 cameras all over this room that are picking up your every movement, and so you're playing differently there, because that no matter where you look, there's a possibility they could be using that camera to capture it,
Mm-hmm.
so you're literally using,
Mm-hmm.
you're using different muscles physically, but also different muscles mentally.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Would you rather do a movie or a series?
I think I'd rather do both.
Both.
I don't like having to choose.
Mm.
I like being able to tell one particular story, that takes place over, just a couple of hours, but there's something beautiful about a TV series that you can explore a character's arc and journey over time. So I think both of those things have a lot of merit, and it's like a movie is about a specific moment in time in a character's life, necessarily, and a TV series is more about a long journey, and both of those are fun to play. Absolutely.
Could you see yourself being like in like Power or Snowfall? Or...
Man, I could see myself being in anything. Y'all think that I'm sitting back and I'm like, what would I like to be in?
That's exactly how we think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but I'm, and there are things that I turn down.
Mm-hmm.
What you turn down?
I don't know. Just if it doesn't speak to me. I have certain criteria that to book a job, and one is it exciting to me? Is it artistically exciting? Is it going to advance my career? Is it are the people that I work with, do I love the people? Is it people that I feel like I could learn from? Is it is it in a beautiful place? Maybe it's a location. I was like, oh man, I want to do that because of the location or something. Is the money good? These 6 criteria, are about like why you want to do something. But sometimes, in my career, so it was just like I did a cereal commercial, and the only thing was it was the money. That was the only reason I was doing it was for the money. But there have been some things that could have potentially been a big deal, and but it didn't speak to my heart, and it wasn't a way that I necessarily wanted to portray myself. The people were questionable, and I was like, they might be famous, but fame can cut both ways, and I just didn't feel good about the experience, and so I've said no to some things, but for the most part, if it's artistically exciting, and I've done things that paid nothing, you know, but I had a fantastic time because it was great. It was great writing and great people, and you know, and those relationships are important.
Mm. How was how was growing up in Georgia?
It was hot.
It was hot.
It was hot. It was muggy. It was muddy. It was fun. You know, I think about, you know, the summers with my cousins and my brother, you know, especially, you know, when we were young, before my baby brother and sister were born. And just thinking about those, like, you know, kind of carefree days, you know, and enjoying them so much. You know, it's funny to go back to Georgia, and the weird thing being in LA, and going back home, sometimes there are those old Southern things that you don't notice growing up that are like still there, like remnants of the Confederacy, you know, that like that kind of shocked me, you know, coming back, and I was like, oh yeah, man, I would just walk past this every day, and it was just like no big deal, and I was like, man. It's like, you know, they have Stone Mountain up there. They have this, you know, huge, like 3 or 4 story, uh, you know, sculpture of, you know, dudes who went to war to keep us in
Oh
chains, you
yeah,
know, and it's like
Robert
this
E. Lee.
huge monument. And it was just like, and it was just, you know, growing up, it was just like, yeah, that's there, you know. And when I got back, you know, I remember coming back and just driving past, you know, Stone Mountain and being like, damn, that thing is still sitting there. You know, it's just like, it's like a reminder. Yeah, some people really just don't want you to be free. You know, it's, you know, you know, but growing up, you know, it was more about, you know, family and the friends you were with.
Did you feel like you need to leave Georgia to grow as a person?
I have grown as a person, but I know people who stayed put, you know, and have grown as people, you know. So I don't think you have to, you know, and there's certainly aspects of you know, many aspects of Georgia that I absolutely adore, you know, love Atlanta, love you know, it is, you know, it's beautiful, and it's beautiful in its diversity. I love, you know, that so much of America can be still segregated. Like that's the black side of town, and that's the white side of town. Or sometimes you're like you'll be in, you know, a city, and it's like. And that's the Italian side and the Polish side and the Lithuanian side, and you know, and everybody's still, you know, kind of cordoned off. And there are parts of Atlanta where everybody's just walking around, you know, each other, and I love that. You know, I love that, where everybody, uh, you know, owns the space, you know, and yeah. So I can't remember what your question was, man. I kind of went off. These things happen with me. I have ADHD. It is my superpower, you know, which means that, you know, I can do a lot of good with it. I can also destroy a small village probably if you know, if I don't focus. So yeah.
You see yourself behind camera, like?
Yeah, I do. And I've been and I've written for television. I wrote one of the last episodes of Young Justice, that I did. It's been a few years ago now. But yeah, and I directed a documentary about my mother, called The Faith of the Dreamer. Yeah, and I continue to write, you know, and develop projects. So yeah, I enjoy, you know, the breadth of the creative process.
I could saw you in Sinners. I think you did really good in Sinners.
Yeah, no, man. I was just watching that with my son really wanted my mom to watch it, and my mom doesn't take the gore very well. So we had to stop about like an hour into it and just like tell her what happened during all the gory parts. But even just watching just the first half of it, and we just had this huge discussion. Man, it is a beautiful film, and just realizing, how, the power of Black culture and through music, and because to me that movie is about the resiliency of Black culture despite the hardship, and how we came to this country, but we were able to, and they throw a bunch of brass and wind instruments at you, and you have no idea how to play it, so you end up just creating jazz and the blues and rock and roll and hip hop and everything, and it is one of those things that has just gone all over the world, you know what I mean? And it is Black music. It is something that was built out of suffering and struggle and made into something beautiful. And that movie is about like vampires who literally come because they are attracted to this incredible music, this thing, and they try to siphon it, they try to take it. And little Sammy is able to survive it and go on, and live his life and play that music. That music survives despite, being like, assaulted, and it's like that movie, man. I love that movie.
I do too.
Amazing movie.
Yeah.
Why do you think he didn't want to be a vampire in the end? Why do you think he was like, nah, I'm good?
You know what? It's funny to hear older people talk, getting into the like 80s and 90s, talk about their mortality. They have a wisdom about when it's time to go that I don't understand, that I don't think we as younger people really understand, that they joke about it. They're like, yeah, when is my time to go? This will be my time to go. And we're like, oh man, don't talk about my time. It's like I'm, I've got a lot of anxiety about, I got a lot of living to do, and I've just noticed a peace from like, older people, or at least enlightened older people, or people when by the time they get to 92 or something, they've of the ones that I've spoken with, they have a certain peace about it. And I think Sammy, has a peace that vampires don't understand. They're trying to hold on to life, at all costs. And and the beauty of life is that it don't last forever. So you got to enjoy the moment you're in. It's like when you pick a flower, it blooms only for a short time and it's gone, and that's part of the beauty of it. And some people try to make flowers last as long as they can. They're not meant to. You're meant to enjoy the moment.
If they do an origin story of Stack and Smoke, you're in there?
Man, you need to stop asking me if I will do brilliant project. Let me tell you, if there's a brilliant project, I will do it. Like now if you ask me about something stupid, I don't know. If it's funny, I might do that too. But I mean, that sounds incredible. And the thing about Sinners that I really appreciate is the attention to detail, and anything that tells that story with that same attention to detail is a project worth doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have like a one favorite movie of all time?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say, but but I think it's The Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption?
I think it's The Shawshank Redemption. And that's a hard movie to watch. But once again, it's about resilience, and it's about, it's about taking every day to chip away, you know, at your goal until your goal is finished, and I just love that. I love that movie. The first time I watched it, I remember when Andy Dufresne finally escapes, and is and the rain is washing away all of the dirt and all of the everything that all of the horrible things that had happened to him in that prison, and and you listening to to Morgan Freeman, and he's just wanting to talk to his friend, see him one more time, and it always hits me like a wave of warm water, and yeah, I think it's Shawshank Redemption.
Any more questions? I'm gonna end it right there.
Yeah,
man. Thank you so much for coming out, sir. Seriously, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.